Hey, what's ready? Welcome back to News Dose, and per usual, it's been a very chaotic weekend for Xbox. Now, on one side, there are multiple exciting Xbox-related stories to talk about, and we're going to get into all of that today. But it was the one negative story that really blew up online, and in this specific case, it was, unfortunately for them, misinformation that was spread online like wildfire. So we're running in all of that, and I'll let you know what's actually happening rather than what has been spread online over the weekend. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go get right into things, though, and like I said before, we do have some exciting Xbox news today, and that starts with yet another confirmation that Xbox is, in fact, developing next-generation consoles. As a part of an interview for the Xbox ROG Ally, Sarah Bond was asked about whether or not they're making future hardware, in which she responded, "We are 100% looking at making things in the future. We have our next-generation hardware in development. We've been looking at prototyping, designing. We have a partnership we've announced with AMD around it, so that is coming." And honestly, I think by this point, this is just such a non-story because they've already answered the same exact question, I believe, like 3 times in just the last month. I mean, we can at least give them a few months break before we ask them again, but people just keep asking it, and their response has been the same every single time. They keep pointing to their very public AMD partnership, and I think that's for a very good reason. They already have a contract with AMD in place, and it would likely cost them a lot of money to bail out of that partnership. Plus, I don't think that they want to upset a big partner like AMD either. So, yes, I do believe they will put out a next-generation console, and unless they say otherwise, the idea that they're bailing on next generation just doesn't hold much weight to it as of this recording. Now, if something changes, of course, I'll let you all know, but for now, I would absolutely go in expecting a next-generation Xbox console. Now, how different is it going to be? I think that's kind of the more curious question as of this time. Now, we also got an update for Pokemon Legends ZA as it shot up the UK charts. According to Christopher Dring, it's now the second biggest Switch 2 game behind only Mario Kart World. So yes, Pokemon Legends ZA outsold Donkey Kong Bonanza in the UK, which I think on one side is to be expected. Pokemon is the bigger series here, but at the same time, just considering how much backlash Legends ZA has received online, it is still worth noting. Now, however, it was a more tepid launch compared to Legends Arceus, which apparently sold 40% more during the same time frame. Now, Christopher Dring did confirm that these numbers include the ZA Switch 2 bundles outside of the Nintendo Store. They don't track those, but however, it doesn't include digital units. So a 40% drop-off isn't necessarily the best sign in the world, but all in all, I kind of say that that's the Pokemon series for you. If you look at the Pokemon series generation to generation, it can fluctuate quite a bit. And I think no matter how you slice it, especially given their budget, this being the second biggest Switch 2 game qualifies, as a very successful launch for the Pokemon series. Now, I'll also say that I think some of the online hatred and just the policing around this game has gone a bit too far. It almost feels like you're not allowed to express joy for this game online, and I get some of the criticisms around the Pokemon series. I'd like to see the Pokemon Company do a little bit more with this franchise. Maybe give Game Freak a bigger budget to include things like, voice acting. That would be great. But I've been playing through Legends ZA myself, and some of the online reactions have definitely been a bit exaggerated. I might actually make a video about this in the future, but I think if you like Pokemon, then Legends ZA does have a lot going for it, and I think most fans of the series will enjoy what it has to offer. All right, now we also got an update for the Analogue 3D, of course, being the Nintendo 64 FPGA console. I mean, there's definitely a lot of potential for a console like this because it does have an opportunity to bring the Nintendo 64 to modern-day TVs in an easy plug-and-play way, but it's also been one of the biggest mysteries of 2025. I mean, to this day, we really haven't seen any kind of gameplay footage that definitively tells us that they're going to deliver on all of their different promises. And the thing is that this was supposed to release early in 2025, but it has since been delayed multiple different times. I mean, the last time we heard about the Analogue 3D, it was back in August, which was when they last delayed it. However, they posted this over on Twitter where they said, Analogue 3D October update. 1. Analogue 3D remains on target to ship in Q4 of this year. 2. There is no change in price or added cost for all open pre-orders. 3. If you need to change your shipping address, we will be sending out an email to all pre-orders 1 week before shipping. And 4, if you'd like to cancel your pre-order at any time for a full refund, visit this website. We appreciate your patience as always and can't wait to get 3D in your hands. So, I mean, there it is. But the reaction for this has not exactly been all that well received online. Fans are rightfully upset by this point. I mean, the fact that they took people's money last year during its pre-order period, but yet they still haven't and won't show any kind of gameplay hasn't exactly given fans a lot of confidence. And that's really all they have to do. If they were to come out and simply show gameplay and, if it looks good, then I think a lot more people would be willing to accept these delays. But when you combine all of the different delays with no footage at all, that to a lot of people is a major red flag. It almost kind of feels like they're hiding something because otherwise, why do they keep delaying it? So there just hasn't been enough open communication by Analogue, but what I will say here is that I do hope it turns out well. Not just because I pre-ordered myself, but also because it's a really cool console in theory. All right, now let's just go and talk about what's happening over at Xbox, because it really has been just a different fire pretty much every day these past 4 weeks. Now, some of this, they absolutely brought on themselves because the price hikes have been ridiculous. I don't think that what they have done this past year is defensible. I definitely feel like they have put themselves in a poor position, but admittedly, I also feel like some of the rumors have gotten a bit out of control by this point, and that once again happened this past weekend. What's happening here is that Rebs Gaming, who's known for his Halo sources, posted a new video on his YouTube channel where he talked about multiple different Halo updates. And we're going to get all of that here in just a moment. But there's one thing that he mentioned right at the end of his video that absolutely blew up online. He mentioned that somebody who has a connection with Microsoft told him that generative AI is apparently woven into every aspect of development, such as enemy AI and terrain generation. I think what they're mostly doing is using AI to make that and then touching up the work with human hands. Also, developers are expected to meet similar to quicker deadlines, and the only means to do so is through the use of AI, whether that's mundane tasks like scheduling things or writing emails, all the way to actual game development. Now, this actually sounds similar to procedural AI for environments, which isn't necessarily a brand new thing for gaming, but fans and outlets went crazy over this online. Suddenly, the narrative became that future Halo games are heavily utilizing things like generative AI, and that the developers aren't actually doing that much themselves. Now, however, Rebs Gaming did respond to all of the backlash online by saying that many people are misinterpreting what I reported as if directly confirms AI is being used in all of the wrong ways and Halo is doomed. I did not report that. I have begun reaching out to sources to figure out specifics about how Halo Studios is using generative AI. Also, using AI in game development isn't new, but using it in negative ways is becoming an industry-wide issue. I'll talk about this in my next video, and that is actually a very good point. AI in video games is not new. I'm going to circle back to that in just a moment. But then Jez responded to all of this by saying that Halo is not using generative AI in its game development, art assets, etc. for its next game. Microsoft has no mandate on studios to use generative AI for games. I'm sure it's being used for emails and stuff like that, but they're not making a generative AI game here. Then even Rebs Gaming said that damage was caused by people with the catchy headlines or who misinterpreted articles without actually watching my video. It's funny, over 2 million people read a tweet from a news site and assumed things, but only 6,000 people watched my video. And what's even crazier about that situation is that the video in question is only 4 minutes. and 39 seconds long. So to see such a short video be that misinterpreted is certainly a problem. But I'm also going to say that the quote in question did kind of suggest a wide use of generative AI. So I'm not going to completely blame outlets for this problem. Now, in the video, he did say that he needs to confirm different things. But nonetheless, what I'm going to say is that I wouldn't necessarily be shocked if Halo Studios is using some sort of AI like he mentioned. Now, that's not to say that they're using generative AI to recreate Halo 1 or something like that, which is, what was being passed around online, of course. But Microsoft is one of the biggest AI companies in the world. And it goes without saying that their employees use AI for various different things, as Jez Corden mentioned. In fact, even the initial report by Rebs Gaming, his source mentioned the idea that they might be using enemy AI and AI for terrains, and then the developers themselves could be touching up on those things, which that's actually not all that uncommon for games anyways. I mean, enemy AI as one such example, it's actually kind of interesting that that was actually even in the quote in the first place, because it's, it's something that's been around for decades. And that's the thing. There's a lot of different use cases for AI. AI is a very large, encompassing technology that's capable of a lot of different things. And because Microsoft is, yes, one of the biggest AI companies in the world, they do have a lot of technology at their disposal that employees can use to help with their day-to-day tasks. In this case, though, as Jez Corden reported, it doesn't seem like Halo Studios is using generative AI as a sweeping way to create future Halo titles, which, that's kind of where the misinformation comes in, because a lot of people are trying to, make stories about how they're using it for, Halo 1. That's how they're recreating it, and this, that, and the other. That's not what's happening here. So there you go. Now, speaking of Halo, though, let's just go ahead and get into the more exciting part of the news. Rebs Gaming also mentioned 2 different Halo projects that are in development, and we might actually hear about one or maybe even both of those this week. Halo Studios has been teasing an announcement for the Halo World Championship, which will take place from October 24th to the 26th. Now, the first possible announcement is for the widely rumored Halo 1 remake. Now, we recently heard that it might be co-developed between Halo Studios and Virtuous Studios, which would be very interesting. Virtuous also worked on Metal Gear Solid Delta as well as the Oblivion remake. They definitely have a vast pedigree of remastering and remaking games. Though I will point out that both of those games have had performance issues. So I hope that won't become a trend, or, maybe hopefully Halo Studios can take the lead and keep that from happening to the Halo remake, which I do believe exists. Now, as for the other possible project, though, we have been hearing a lot about a separate multiplayer game. I mean, there's been a lot of speculation about it possibly being, some kind of Battle Royale inspired type of game, but that remains to be seen. What Rebs Gaming has heard, though, is that both of these projects could possibly release in 2026 as a part of Halo 25th anniversary. Now, this also lines up with what Phil Spencer teased earlier this year at the Xbox Summer Showcase. So 2026 could potentially be a very exciting time for longtime Halo and really Xbox fans for that matter. And that could all start this week with a possible announcement looming. Of course, if we do hear something, I'll let you know right away. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. But until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.